Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and what a wild card weekend victory. That's right, a victory. Without Fred Warner, without Nick Bosa, without Ricky Pearsall, with no Brandon Ayuk for the entire season, without Mike Williams, and while losing George Kittle early in this game, the San Francisco 49ers have found a way to continue pushing forward, and they get the win on the road at the Link, and they send the defending Super Bowl champions home with their tails or their wings tucked between their legs. Folks, when I say why not us, this is what I mean when I say why not us. Sometimes it's not going to be pretty. Sometimes it's not going to be, a blowout victory. Sometimes you have to just find a way to persevere, and this team continues to persevere over and over and over again. So many times this year you thought, oh, the season's over. They can't seemingly find a way to come back from this, even as recent as losing to Week 18 against the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of us said, oh, doom and gloom. We don't have a chance. Seattle, tough team. They're getting hot at the right time. And what are we going to do? And I told you guys in the last podcast previewing this game that, yeah, Philadelphia, probably a better team. Yeah, Philadelphia, better personnel for sure. They're healthier. San Francisco's down to their 5th and 6th and 7th linebackers. Not a single linebacker that was on the active roster to begin the season is currently healthy. And what did San Francisco do? They put on a clinic against Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and that Philadelphia offense. That defense, although wasn't perfect, it wasn't great by any means when it came to stopping the run. What'd they do, though? They tackled well. What happened? Forced Philadelphia into 3rd and long on a continual basis, and then they got off the field. This was a coaching victory by the San Francisco 49ers, and that is what separates them from every other team in the NFL. McVay, Stafford, yeah, they're great in their own right, but what San Francisco has and continues to overcome, and even if the season ends next weekend in Seattle, number 1 seed Seahawks against the 6-seeded Niners, even if the season ends there, this will be one of the greatest playoff wins of Kyle Shanahan's entire tenure in San Francisco. That includes multiple NFC championship wins. That includes a 44-burger on Green Bay at home where they passed the football 8 times. This was a coaching clinic. They suffocated that Eagles offense, and it just took one drive. The entire game, if you follow us on social media, I kept saying, offense, give me one drive. And when everything felt like it was over with, when the season felt lost, what did San Francisco find a way to do? I can't believe I'm saying this. They got the win at the Link, 23-19, and are going to advance in the playoffs this year. It felt improbable, but this team continues to make the improbable feel possible on a week-by-week basis. The climb isn't over, but this was one of the best games I've ever watched, and I've seen San Francisco come back against the Falcons. I've seen San Francisco almost come back against the Ravens in the Super Bowl. I've seen San Francisco dog walk many teams with Kyle Shanahan playing or as their head coach. I've seen nearly this exact same offense find ways to win, but what they've done this year has been short of a miracle. It's just miraculous. To lose George Kittle after not already having Ricky Pearsall against that Eagles defense and watch Brock Purdy throw 2 pretty bad interceptions and the defense not blink. We'll get into Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey and Kyle Shanahan because they all deserve some praise and some criticism in this game, but my God, the defense is the story of the game. Now, Philadelphia's offense isn't great by any means. We knew that coming in. They don't score in the second half very much, and we all knew. If you can get in their head, force Hurts to drop back over and over again, you can find ways to win. And this defense allowed over 139 yards, 140 yards flat, and 1 rushing touchdown on the ground. They were getting eaten alive on the ground in this game, but kudos to Alfred Collins, CJ West, Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis, Keon White, Bryce Huff, a big TFL, but more importantly, the back, 2 linebackers and 2 safeties and 3 cornerbacks. What is it? The back seven? The back seven deserves so much credit. Eric Kendricks, oh my God. Where have you been? How did you not have a job? Does he count as a trade deadline acquisition on the practice squad? This dude should have been playing over Tatum Bethune the whole time. This dude should have been the second or third linebacker on this team all year. Now he has fresh legs, it certainly helps, but even Garrett Wallow, we knew tackling was the key. And what did they do? I can't think of maybe 2 or 3 runs of Barkley where he broke a tackle and kept going. There were lanes, for sure, but as soon as they got hit by a San Francisco 49ers defender, they were brought down. This was a clinic. So many tackle for losses. For as good as that Eagles offensive line has been in previous years, it isn't the same. And for as bad as San Francisco's front four usually is, while there wasn't much pressure put on Hurts, they found a ways to contain him in the pocket. He didn't run for much in this game. And the secondary, I mean, come on. We knew that Hurts was not going to push the ball downfield, or at least he'd try, but he wasn't that successful. We knew he couldn't see the middle of the football field. And I got so much grief from Eagles fans saying, oh, Jalen Hurts, top 10 quarterback. Jalen Hurts, one of the best in the league. You don't know how good he can be come playoff time. I just saw Jalen Hurts throw the exact same amount of touchdowns as Juwan Jennings. That's your quarterback you're paying $50, $60, $55-ish million to per year. That's the quarterback you trust. And I get it. The offensive play caller isn't good, Kevin Patullo. You got to fire that guy. But you just let the San Francisco 49ers again, without their 2 best defensive players, their first-round draft pick this year, their 4th, 5th, and 6th linebackers starting for them, walk into your place without George Kittle, without Pearsall, with Brandon Ayuk probably speeding past Levi Stadium someplace in time right now at 5:32 on January 11th. You let that team walk into your place and beat you? That is embarrassing. For as great as a win as this is for San Francisco, that is an utter embarrassment for the Philadelphia Eagles. They should be pissed. They should be angry. They talked all this crap. They felt like this was an easy outing. Jordan Mailata, their left tackle, was talking all crap on Bryce Huff and saying, it's pretty easy, la-di-da-di-da. And what happened? You let San Francisco stay in the game, and and I know some people may still say, #fire Kyle Shanahan. What are you smoking? You just witnessed, with some bumps in the road, maybe even a massive mountain to climb over, Shanahan plowed through that sucker and overcame against the second best defense in the entire NFC. Now, you play the best one next weekend against Seattle, but my God, this should not be understated how great Kyle Shanahan was. This offense on the first drive of the game set the tempo. We had no idea what this game was going to look like. In fact, we all thought high gusty winds, 35 miles an hour, run the football. It's a CMC game. What did Shanahan do? Screw that, buddy. We're passing it deep on the first drive. Caught that Eagles defense napping. 6 plays, 76 yards in about 3 minutes of time. Purdy was 3 for 3, 74 yards in the touchdown, including a 58-yard reception to Demarcus Robinson. I mean, the offense wasn't great. There was, again, turnovers. They couldn't run the football, but they answered the call when necessary. This is a game I can look back, and my wife does not like football, doesn't watch football. In fact, I awoke her from her nap, her midday nap on a Sunday, screaming and yelling of I can't believe what we just watched. And I told her, I said, I know that you caught the tail end. You caught the last drive of Philadelphia. San Francisco walks off and gets the win. I go, you don't realize what you just witnessed. The greatness you just saw. And the thing is, this is a team effort. This wasn't they have one superstar. Some fans may point to, they have Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey in this game, I caught 2 touchdowns. That's all great. Their primary receivers were Juwan Jennings, who can't separate, Demarcus Robinson, who for the first time all year found a way to separate, which, 6 for 111 and a touchdown. Where has this been all year? This was the Robinson we saw in training camp come to life in the biggest moment, so good for him. But his receivers were Demarcus Robinson, who all year has not been great, Jawan Jennings, who caught one pass for 45 yards, and then it was Sky Moore, Kendrick Bourne. It wasn't like it was a one superstar show. This was a team effort. And I put on Twitter yesterday, I said, if you put a caged animal and you put their back against the wall, the only solution they have is to come out fighting, come out swinging. The claws have to be out. And San Francisco acted as if they were that caged animal back against the wall, saying, we have nothing to lose. We lost our Hall of Fame tight end in the first half. What do we have to lose in this game? In San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan, all praise, all praise. Again, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty at times, right? This game felt like it was in the balance of like if Seattle or if Philadelphia scores here, it's over, right? And the defense, bend, don't break on a continual basis. I can highlight so many people. Eric Kendricks, again, this deserves so much credit. 11 tackles for Kendricks 10 for Kendricks, 11 for Wallow. Go back to last week. San Francisco missed 18 tackles. 18 tackles. In some metrics above 20, right? Because their linebackers were terrible. D. Winters, Bethune. In fact, I don't even think you can go back to those guys against Seattle. Whether healthy or not, you just go with who you have out there because they've looked so good in this game. And I'm sure a better quarterback can exploit them. Darnold has the ability to exploit this defense more than Hurts can. But to go from missing 18 tackles to have your linebackers have 21 in a single game and be the primary reason or a large reason you win. What about Marquise Siegel? I mean, I know early in the year it wasn't great. You know, you got beaten coverage like every single game, every single snap for the first 5 weeks or so. Jair Brown gets hurt. The team goes to Jason Pinnock, and I think like most fans, we all said, don't do that. And Marquise Siegel comes out, and he looks like a freaking all-pro. Now, obviously he's not. We know that. But my God, why has he not been playing? The beautiful wrap-up tackle in space on Saquon Barkley and against Devontae Smith to tackle Saquon for a tackle for loss. And I know it wasn't on purpose, but it got Saquon out of the game for a couple of plays when he hurt his hip. Like, it's small stuff like that where you can say the biggest game changers in this game for San Francisco, yes, were a couple of drops by A.J. Brown, who probably won't survive in Philadelphia for one more season, but the three biggest impactful players weren't even starting 1 week ago. Garrett Wallow, who is a mid-season waiver wire acquisition for special teams purposes only. Eric Kendricks was a mid-season, late-season signing for the practice squad because guys were banged up, but Bethune was still healthy. Winters was healthy. He wasn't supposed to play, if we're being honest with ourselves. And then Marquise Siegel. None of those guys started one game ago. None of those guys were supposed to play in this game if San Francisco mapped things out correctly. And it goes to show you that, you know, the resiliency of this team, and that's the word I think can kind of be the word you kind of stamp on this year. What does this year, like what's the one word, the slogan that you'd put next to this team? It's resiliency. And enough cannot be said for the culture in that room, for as many times as young guys. And don't forget, 11 rookies were drafted on this team. 11. You had Michael out for the year, Alfred Collins, CJ West, two big-time players on the inside of this game on the defensive line. Upton Stout, dude, you are a dog. We knew that for a couple of plays earlier in the season, but the way you played the last couple of months or so, I've talked about it plenty of times, he has gotten better. Like, Stout looks like the next great nickel cornerback in San Francisco. Now, what does that mean? We'll see as the years progress, but in big games like this, you don't want to make too many declarative statements, but Stout feels like the true big hit in the defensive class right now, which didn't seem like it would be when things started out. And then you have Siegel. Those are four guys, four rookies on this defense with not Fred Warner around them, not Nick Bosa around them, overcoming and defying the odds. Like, this is what you want. These are character building moments for a defense like this. And I want to give credit to Renardo Green, who has had so many ups and downs this year, but to get a big PBU near the end zone in this game late, Hurts trying to make a play, just batted it down, played great coverage, got no holding calls called on him. He had another coverage on A.J. Brown earlier in the game, which forced a drop by Brown too. It's just, you have young players that, while have had so many struggles, have had so many problems, it just seems like the Niners like really, really, really have to, or the Niners really have come along and come alive. Like, they've been tremendous. And even Lenore, who early in this game, Lenore was getting cooked. He was getting cooked like a you-know-what. It was like a spring chicken out there, getting roasted. He was getting roasted. And I think Philadelphia had targeted him 6 times in the first half, and he allowed 5 completions. And they were allowing him to travel for the first time all year. And it was a disaster. It was like, oh my God, if you let that continue, it's going to be a long day for San Francisco secondary. But Lenore tightened the screws in the second half, had a couple of great run stops. And that's really where this game comes down to, is San Francisco, Robert Saleh pressing all the right buttons, bringing the pressure at the right time. And it's, for the first time maybe since Fred went down, and maybe even before that, because the Buccaneers game was bad too, probably the Rams game, and maybe if not that game, the Saints game, like week 2, where this defense finally used fundamentals to tackle. I cannot tell you how great it was to see after a very long year, 18 weeks of why can't you tackle? Why can't you tackle? Even guys like Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa, were not letting guys get behind them in coverage, but also coming down in the box, in the flats, and making plays. And, we talked previewing this game of you want to put all the pressure on Jalen Hurts and that Eagles passing offense, and they did. They deserve so much credit. Again, and the funny thing is that the offense at times was not even helping the defense. The offense is going 3 and out on about not a whole quarter of play, but there was a big chunk of play in this game in the second quarter where it was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And it was just oh no. This game had the makings of one early that could have got out of hand. San Francisco scores, Philadelphia scores, they missed the PAT, thank God. And this game, to kind of sum this game up, Philadelphia had this game. They had the house money. It was we're all on green, right? And San Francisco walked in there and they just snatched their souls. And maybe it's just myself, but I feel so much prouder knowing that was the case. Had San Francisco had the whole team healthy, the defense healthy, I'd say, whew, wow, that was a great game. But now it's no, that was a phenomenal game. To see Kyle and Saleh scheme things up, I mean, my brain can't even put to words, really, how great the coaching was in this one. Obviously, one of the biggest plays in this game was Juwan Jennings, that touchdown pass. Shanahan being look, we're desperate. We are down. We need to find a way to get some points on the board, or like I was saying, the game could get out of hand. Juwan Jennings, the fact that he has the exact same touchdowns. So in the playoffs, Justin Herbert has 2 touchdowns. So does Juwan Jennings as a quarterback, which is crazy to say. That throw by Juwan for Shanahan to pull the thing out. You're trailing 16-10, I believe. And I like it's plays like this. It's clutch throws like this where he had 1 reception, 45 yards, but then threw a 45-yard touchdown pass basically in the air to a wide open Christian McCaffrey, who made an amazing catch on it. I know San Francisco lacks the dynamic offensive player, but when you have that play caller and a guy like Juwan Jennings, who again is a big burly guy, he can't run very well, he just gets in guys' heads and makes some missed tackles. I think he has earned every penny he wants. Now, I'm not saying $30 million, but it's when all else was lost. And look, Juwan, there was a couple plays where you're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, there was good Juwan, there was also great Juwan, and there was ugly Juwan in this one, because it's before the end of the first half, right? San Francisco's marching downfield, trying to gain momentum, trying to keep this one close, tie it up, get them closer, and to avoid Philadelphia having the chance to lap them up or kind of double up on them to begin the second half. In San Francisco, like, again, a lot of miscues, right? Purdy's 2 interceptions, a lot of 3 and outs, just terrible punts by Thomas Morstead. A 27-yard punt and a 35-yard punt. I know you're 40, but my God, dude, give me something else. I don't know if you need some PEDs, some testosterone, some Blue Chew, some Viagra. Do something, brother. You got to get up for a game like this. And the wind was bad and everything, which probably played a factor into stuff. But going back to Juwan for a second, as you can see, a lot happening in this game. But San Francisco is trying to march downfield before the end of the first half and score some points. And, Kittle had just tore his Achilles, and all hope felt lost. But it's like, how do you overcome? How do you persevere? Purdy finds Robinson for 11 yards, later finds Tunjas for about 10 yards for a first down. Then because Kendrick Bourne and Malik Turner, who is, for whatever reason, Malik Turner is being elevated in games like this, but not Jordan Watkins, doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know Malik Turner has some time in the NFL. He hasn't caught a pass since, I think, 2020, I think. But Bourne and Turner don't know the offense, which is, Kendrick Bourne has been on every one of these plays all year of not knowing the offense. It's just incredible how great KB is, but it's like, a little less dancing, a little more knowledge, please. But they waste 21 seconds in between plays, right? They get a completion, check down to CMC. He falls down, kind of stumbles. But then 21 seconds go by. You have 57 seconds at the hike of that check down to Christian McCaffrey. You don't snap the ball until the 36-second mark. And Juwan Jennings is jogging, like not running, not like having some momentum, not having some tempo in his step, some pep in his step, knowing that, hey, Kittle's out, the season could be over here if we don't score. This thing can get really ugly really fast. And how long can the defense hold up? Now things worked out in their favor, obviously. They won the game. But it's like, you can't have what is right now your acting number 1 wide receiver jogging in a up-tempo time of the game. The clock isn't stopped. And again, it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but it's stuff like that where it's like, great Juwan Jennings, 45-yard catch, a 40-plus yard touchdown throw to Christian McCaffrey. Wow, what a play call. Wow, what a throw. Wow, what an amazing catch to track that ball over your shoulder, basically falling down in the end zone. It was awesome. But then also you have Juwan where you're just like, maybe if you had 21 seconds to play with, Purdy scrambles, and goes out of bounds, but you have 10 seconds left because of the runoff and everything, and it's like, Juwan, it's not all on you, man. And you played great in again the overarching scheme of things, but like, oof, like that was a point in time where I was texting Dre Area Sports, who's in the chat right now, who says, "I told you we were going to win the game, and you did, Dre." Thankful for your faith amongst the faithful. But we were kind of talking back and forth, and I was like, I can't believe San Francisco is still in this game. Like, they're, again, going back to kind of the main part of, like the main point of the game, it's like Philadelphia lost this game. And San Francisco walked in there and just grabbed their chain and walked out with it. Deebo Samuel used to say, tuck your chains. Philadelphia got their chain snatched because they didn't tuck it. They came in here overconfident, feeling themselves, oh, it's San Francisco. Oh, they're banged up. Oh, they lose Kittle. And they couldn't move the football offensively. I mean, you go to Philadelphia's third down rate in this game. It wasn't pretty. Philadelphia in this game on third down was 5 for 16. 5 for 16. They also got called for a ton of penalties. 7 for 48. They continually put themselves behind the 8 ball. I mean, think about this. Philadelphia held the ball for 11 more minutes than San Francisco. They outrushed San Francisco by, what is that, 65, 70 yards, basically. They averaged more yards per rush. They had the exact same red zone attempts and scores, 2 for 3 for both teams. But they passed the ball 100 yards less than San Francisco. They averaged 2 yards less than San Francisco on one less drive, but they also ran almost 14, 15 plays more than San Francisco did. Philadelphia maybe wasn't a good team. Philadelphia didn't deserve to win this game. San Francisco played better. They were coached better. They were more disciplined than Philadelphia was, and they just simply were a better team today. And we talked about this, I think, maybe it was going into the Seattle game, or maybe it was leaving the Seattle game of like, you know what? Like, sometimes the best teams don't always win. Again, on paper, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy. Yeah, you had Brock Purdy, sure. That leans in your favor. Okay, Kyle Shanahan, Nick Sirianni. You love Kyle more than Sirianni, obviously. But like, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon. Now I think you'd pick Christian McCaffrey, but even Saquon was really good in this game for Philadelphia. Like, Saquon played his heart out. Hurts didn't. That Philadelphia defense got 2 turnovers, and the Niners defense held Philadelphia to 19 points. Imagine telling Philadelphia fans, you're going to get 19, or you're going to score 19 points despite having 2 takeaways and rushing for 140 yards and lose. And lose at your place. What happened today? What transpired today, a wild card weekend? Maybe the last happy moment of the year, and really the moment's bittersweet because you lost George Kittle. Which just, man, like, even in the good moments, you can't always be too happy, right? You can't always be too proud because San Francisco wins this game. We're riding high. We're happy. We're talking trash on social media. F you, Philadelphia, right? You're yelling to your father, your mother, your grandma, I don't know, whoever you're watching the game with. Like, this is a moment of joy, of praise by the organization, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, Saleh, the players on the team, the resiliency, the mental fortitude to not fold when losing George Kittle. A big deal in this one. But in the same breath, you lost George Kittle. And you didn't only lose George Kittle for a game, for the playoffs, which in itself would be hard. And again, it could be a major factor in next weekend's game against Seattle. But you lose George Kittle for, yes, the next 4 weeks or so leading into the Super Bowl. But also, you may lose George Kittle for all of next year, too. A torn Achilles is a 9 to 12 month recovery process. And again, there's a 3-month window in which maybe you come back sooner, right? So maybe you get Kittle back for, week 18, week 17, but Kittle's not going to be back for August, for September, for October, for November, maybe late November if you're lucky, Thanksgiving, really. Like, you have lost a Hall of Fame All-Pro tight end, not just for this season, but for most of next season. And we aren't there yet. We'll get there when we get there. A whole offseason to go, free agency, the draft. And the injury itself, it's like he may never come back the same. Now, tight ends have a 70% recovery rate, which I think is higher than every other position. So there is some hope. But it's like, for as high as we are now, still bittersweet. Still really bittersweet. But I do want to continue with the praise and kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of this game, because I think on my notes, which are on my phone, it's like 7 pages long, I think I had a total of like 10, maybe 12 tackles for losses in this game. Now, some of those may be tackles for no gain. But it felt like a lot of this game, San Francisco had guys in the backfield, in the flat, which kind of goes into what I was saying coming into the game of like, Hurts can't test this secondary. Hurts can't test these linebackers. If you're not going to have Pearsall, you had Trent, thankfully, which Trent, for as piss poor as San Francisco was running the football, this offensive line gave Brock Purdy so much time to throw. And Trent Williams, I cannot count on my hand how many times you just saw pressure rush in And you see this 36-year-old behemoth standing tall, holding his ground against, name any edge rusher in Philadelphia, Nolan Smith, maybe Jalen Carter on a stunt. Like, it was like Trent was the last stand a lot of the times. And a big reason why San Francisco won this game was how good the offensive line was, at least in pass blocking. Brendel, Burford, like the offensive line, again, wasn't great against Seattle. They were really good today against Philadelphia. But, this defense, Jalen Hurts, like, I don't ever want to hear Jalen Hurts being a top 10 quarterback again. I don't want to hear that Brock Purdy isn't better than Jalen Hurts, at least today. Now, I know Hurts has the playoff success. He's won a Super Bowl, and not everything comes down to quarterback play. Today, although a team effort, you saw the difference of a playmaking quarterback and a stick in the mud. And I feel pretty confident saying that because Brock Purdy overcame not having his number one receiver, his number two receiver, and really his number three receiver because he lost George Kittle, right? And he overcame all of that. And he won a game. And Philadelphia had every single starting player healthy besides Lane Johnson. So of the 22, they had 21 of their 22 starters healthy. They were getting guys back healthy. Nakobe Dean played in this game for Philadelphia. They had 21 of 22 starters healthy, and San Francisco overcame that. That's insane. A team that, again, is in their fifth, sixth linebackers and lost so many pieces before this game even started. And thankfully, you might get some guys back, right? Like, you might get back D. Winters, who probably shouldn't play. You can get back Ricky Pearsall, hopefully, against Seattle, which you didn't see in Week 18. Maybe makes a difference in the divisional round. And it's not going to happen. Odds aren't very high, but you are now one win away from getting back Fred Warner, maybe, which would just be the biggest mind blow of all time. Which I was thinking back to this, and this is more of a future conversation, or at least this week, because we play Seattle next Sunday or next Saturday, I think. The last time San Francisco has played a division rival three times was in 2021 against the Rams, I believe. If not, it was 2022 against Seattle. And San Francisco swept Seattle in 2022, beat them in the divisional round, I think, at Levi Stadium. That was the big Brock Purdy game, and they just exploded for a bunch of points and really ran through Seattle. So San Francisco has played, if I think back now, San Francisco has played divisional opponents in a season twice under Kyle Shanahan. 2021, they played the Rams. I think they lost 2 in the first time. They beat them the second time. Week 18, Juwan Jennings, ironically enough, touchdown throw to Deebo Samuel, I think. And then they lost to them on the road in Los Angeles in a heartbreaker we all won't bring up again. The next year, they play Seattle. They beat them 3 times in a row. Now they have the rubber match of the rivalry this week against them. So this is not something that's new to them. It's not something that they haven't done before. Like, Shanahan and company have played divisional opponents plenty of times in the playoffs, and they've beaten them a couple of times. Not the Rams, obviously, which thankfully they may not have to play them. But they get the biggest test, right? They play the number 2 defense today against Philadelphia in the NFC, and they get the number 1 defense in Seattle next week, which, I mean, you want to talk about Coach of the Year status for Kyle Shanahan. If he wins that game, and really winning this game. Like, I know Ben Johnson won last night against the Packers. I'm sorry. The Packers probably aren't as good as Philadelphia was, at least defensively. I know McDonald has been great in Seattle. He deserves his praise too, but they've been pretty healthy all year. Mike Vrabel is playing tonight. Like, you can make the argument if the Patriots lose tonight against the Chargers and San Francisco already winning that game today against Philadelphia, Shanahan's kind of a shoo-in for Coach of the Year. Kind of has to be. To overcome this, and it wasn't like there wasn't adversity in the game too. Like, again, you lose Kittle, like, what happens? But it's funny to be on social media and watch fans melt down. Philadelphia fans are just dumbfounded. Um, you have the media giving San Francisco praise, but um, you know, this is a game where, like, again, Philadelphia should be mad, be pissed. You heard their own fans. They were booing the team during the game. They booing the offense during the game. And it wasn't like San Francisco also wasn't trying to get this game up too. You had Brock Purdy throw 2 interceptions, and you had him throw them at really misopportune times, right? Around midfield both times. The second one was, I think, a better idea than the first one, but still, like, Quinyon Mitchell gets 2 interceptions. He hadn't caught picks all year. He gets 2 in the same game. But again, sometimes the best teams don't win. Sometimes the healthiest teams don't win. I have to keep asking myself this question, like, when does the luck run out for San Francisco? And then I sit back and I go, you know what? Today wasn't luck. And I think a lot of people will say, well, Philadelphia had a down day. That's who they've been all year. Like, we talked, Philadelphia probably was, in my eyes, was going to win. Like, there was no reason for anyone to really pick San Francisco. But, sometimes things happen. Sometimes the improbable happens. Like, we have a comment here by Tommy Huxley, who's saying, we're getting destroyed in Seattle. I don't know that. No one knows that. People would have said, and including myself, the odds San Francisco wins any playoff games this year, pretty slim, knowing the injuries they have in the context of their season. Like, people were beating themselves up and saying the season was over after losing to Seattle in Week 18. And then San Francisco goes on the road, gets a win in Philadelphia. And I don't know, like, I try to be optimistic here. I try to be positive. I try to give you both sides of the coin. I try to tell you how things could happen. I try to be informative. I try to be passionate too, but also try to be logical and sound and whatnot. I really try my best to not be overly emotional when they win or lose a game. And I was sitting on my couch today watching the game, and I was like gearing up. Okay, like, how is this one gonna end? What's the lead? What's the start? And this was probably in the third quarter. I'm like, feeling pretty down, feeling like this one is, hook, line, and sinker if Philadelphia scores one more time. And, sometimes you can be suckered into overbelieving in teams. And I like to think that, all you need is a chance, right? I think I put on social media, and maybe I said it on here a couple of times, like, you give Kyle Shanahan, you give Brock Purdy, you give Christian McCaffrey a chance. I believe in those guys. And even if Brock throws 2 picks, I still believe in them because the defense was so good today, was nearly dominant today, at least against the pass. You had Jalen Hurts evading clean pockets, which he's done that for plenty of times. Like what we saw today from Jalen Hurts isn't new. Evading clean pockets, inaccurate throws deep downfield. It's like, this is the guy. Like, yeah, he had a miraculous playoff run twice. Probably should have won the Super Bowl twice. But when you say, lead me, not that guy. And when the defense, is lesser than it has been the last 3 years or so, and he has to find a way to score, like, Jalen Hurts didn't do much today. Like, going to the stat line for a second, the box score, if you will, Philadelphia had 7 passing first downs. 7 passing first downs. They had 167 passing yards on 35 dropbacks. The average yards per pass were 4.6 to San Francisco's 8.7. Hurts was sacked once. That's about half of what he usually gets sacked. So good on San Francisco getting a sack in this game. I know Aaron's pretty happy about that, I'm sure. But, like, take Brock Purdy and take Jalen Hurts, for example, right? All of San Francisco's offense came through the air. Like, Philadelphia knew the Niners' offense was one-dimensional. They couldn't run the football. San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey mainly, had 48 rushing yards in this game. That's exactly what it's been a lot of the year. Early in the season with Mac Jones, and then obviously against Seattle. Christian McCaffrey, 48 yards, been kind of stuffed. Like, the rushing attack has not been great for most of the season. Philadelphia knew that. Philadelphia said, look, if we can stop the run, put the ball in Purdy's hands, he'll make a few mistakes maybe. He did. But I was almost shocked how explosive San Francisco's defense was without the players they had. If you'd have told me they had a 58-yard reception, a 45-yard reception, and Juwan Jennings' 30-yard touchdown pass, I would have said, no way. What happened? Who got hurt on Philadelphia? And the answer is nobody. I am almost mind blown how successful San Francisco's offense was today. But guess what? Ring the bell. That's what had to happen anyways. We've known that. Yeah, San Francisco's defense played well, good enough, and the offense was getting kind of dicey there. I'm feeling woozy here, right? But the offense has to be the one to lead the charge. The offense has to find ways to have explosive plays to get themselves out of ruts. And now San Francisco's offense plays this way against Seattle. Who knows? The odds probably would say no, but I think if you gave San Francisco the guarantee of 3 explosive plays and you tell them they're going to throw for 3 touchdown passes, you'd probably say they're going to win. And that's what San Francisco did. 3 touchdown passes against that Philadelphia defense that has multiple All-Pros, that has some of the best defensive tackles on the interior as pass rushers. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham, that has right now probably the 3rd best linebacker in football in Zach Bond, behind Fred Warner and Roquan Smith, maybe. I don't know. Like, I'm thinking of the best ones. Campbell in Detroit this year. Like, Bond's incredible. What did he do today? Nothing. Zach Bond was kind of a non-factor. A.J. Brown, non-factor on offense. I don't think A.J. Brown had a catch the entire second half of this game. And on defense, like, Quinyon had the best game, obviously. He had a big pass breakup against Kittle on the first drive of the game. But, like, Cooper DeJean had 1 pass breakup in this one. Marcus Robinson was cooking dudes. I don't know how. I can count here on the screen. San Francisco, according to ESPN, had 7 tackle for losses. 7. Philadelphia's defense had 3. What? What? How? It was almost like they flipped sides. It's like Winters, bad. Wallow, get in there. Bethune, bad. Kendricks, get in there. Eric Kendricks, and I know I'm bouncing around, we're going in circles here, but like, it's just incredible. I'm sure I've said the words again, and incredible, and but, and I can't believe that, and I couldn't believe this so many times because this game felt improbable. I could not believe through 3 quarters San Francisco was leading this or was in the game, and I couldn't believe to begin the 4th quarter they were winning this game. I was like, how is this happening? And really I was like, oh great, what? We're going to have an opportunity late, or, we're going to have a chance, and Philadelphia's going to march downfield and score a touchdown and really sink us in the gutter and say, ha, 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 and laugh in our faces. Like, that was the negative part of me of like, yeah, we're doing fine now, but the defense on the field, the last drive of the game, Philadelphia marching 3 timeouts, 2+ minutes to go. Like, really? Plenty of time. They can run the football. They can pass the football. Like, okay, I don't really trust this defense. And the defense continues. Like, think about the games. The defense has been, this defense gets so much crap. So much crap. Rightfully so. But think about the games this year. The defense has been on the field late, and they've won drives. Week 1, Seattle. Nick Bosa, who obviously is hurt, game-winning strip sack of Sam Darnold, right? Week 2, in New Orleans. Saints starting to march a little bit. Strip sack of Spencer Rattler. I think it was Bryce Huff. Week 3, Arizona Cardinals. Upton Stout gets a big stop. Kind of gets a PBU, pass breakup on Zay Jones. San Francisco marches down to the game-winning field goal. Week 5, right? Week 5 against the Rams. Game on the line twice. Defense, 2 goal line stops, 2 red zone stops. Those are 4 defensive stops that have either been the last drive of the game or to help San Francisco's offense get to a game-winning drive, right? And they won. You go to the game against the Bears. Now, you give the Bears more time. Who knows what happens? But still, San Francisco's defense on the field, bend, don't break, last second, they get the win. They walk off with that way. Now, this game, that's 6 games off the top of my hand, and there are 17 weeks I haven't even gone through yet. Like, 6 times this defense has found a way to be on the field with great personnel, with good personnel, with dog crap personnel, and they found a way to win. Whether it's luck, whether it's Robert Saleh's bald, shiny head doing magic, because my God, he's a wizard. I don't know. And I love what San Francisco's defense did in this game, right? Played 2 linebackers almost the entire game. They kept everything really compact. Nobody got behind them. I don't think Hurts hit a single deep ball in this game. Tried a handful of times. It just felt like, and they knew, sidelines. We know they want to throw everything towards the sidelines. And I told you guys that. They do not want to throw in between the numbers. What did San Francisco do? They just dropped 2 linebackers there, let their safeties, and they let their cornerbacks bracket guys towards the sideline and said, beat us. And Philadelphia couldn't. We have a super chat here by Aaron. $5. Aaron, thank you so much. We'll talk to you on Friday on the Cover 3 podcast, live on YouTube, exclusively on YouTube. We'll eat some crow together on that game. Should be fun. Anyways, he says, staying present without thinking about Kittle and aging future of the offense, I honestly was okay with this losing if you take into account everything. Dude, you're never okay losing. I know what you mean. Like, okay, if we lost, again, the luck runs out. Like, I have in my notes here, San Francisco just doesn't have enough. When Kittle went out, my first thought was they don't have enough. They had a disastrous drive after Kittle got hurt in the first half, basically, and I was like, this is it. Like, they were already riding that really thin margin of error, like razor thin. Like it was like, oh no, you make one false move, the season's over. And Kittle goes out, and to Aaron's point, like, my thought wasn't, I'm okay losing. It was more so of like, okay, like, I'm starting to accept the future. I'm starting to see the reality in which I live in, which maybe San Francisco loses this game. But to their credit, man, they fought. And Aaron, not to come your way, Aaron, because obviously we're friends, but like, dude, you've had no faith all year, brother. You have had, and look, there have been reasons to not have faith. Going back to points the last near hour or so, it's like you didn't have any of your star defensive players. You didn't have half of your offensive players. And it just, like there's been so many reasons as a fan base to give up. And if you felt that way as a fan, imagine how the team felt. Like, imagine watching your best players go down all year. And just when you think, okay, we're in the playoffs, we're getting healthy, Trent's back, Philadelphia, okay, it's going to be hard, bang, Kittle's out for maybe a whole year. Like, the emotional distress, I'm sure, on the team sucks. And think about Kyle, like, Salah already doesn't have any hair, I'm sure. Kyle Shanahan's going gray, and I'm sure there'll be a bald spot there by the end of the winter. Because how do you not age drastically after seeing this game? I'm 29. I just turned 29 about 2 months ago. I feel like I'm 50 watching this Niners team play. I don't play on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays. I sit there on the couch and I watch football, then I react to it afterwards for my job. And I feel like I've aged 20 years watching this team play. But again, to their credit, I can go through 30 plays in this game that changed the outcome. I can go through 40 plays that changed the outcome. I do want to get into Brock Purdy, though. It's been a long time. Kind of got into him earlier about the interceptions and stuff, but I thought Brock had a really inconsistent third quarter that nearly doomed San Francisco. We didn't get the best Brock Purdy all game. Brock was excellent in that first drive. I thought he was doing enough in that first half to keep San Francisco alive in the game. But to throw, I believe it was 2 second half interceptions, obviously is not great. It sucks. But to do what the other guy can't do, and that's how you play sports, right? Whether it's baseball, basketball, NFL football, your job is to do the thing the other guy can't do. And he outdueled Jalen Hurts today in his own home. To throw for, 268 yards, I think? 262, excuse me. 262 and rush for 24 more on the ground to evade some sacks and keep drives alive and throw 2 touchdowns. That last touchdown pass by Brock Purdy, go back and watch it. There is a lot of mud, a lot of fog in the air in that play, and Purdy found a way. And that's kind of been what he's done. A beautiful layered throw to Juwan Jennings for 45 yards in this game. That was, I think it was in between DeJean on Jennings trailing Juwan and just over Zach Bond's hand. Gorgeous throw. You got the good, the bad, and the Purdy in this game by a wide margin. He was really good early, not good at all in the middle of this game, and then he was phenomenal late on that last drive. Again, him and Demarcus Robinson were phenomenal in this one. This was, I think, in the first 3 drives, Robinson already surpassed his season in-game high for yards in a game. And then, of course, Christian McCaffrey. Enough cannot be said about how great Christian McCaffrey is, and we know this. But to have a running back that can essentially get stopped on the ground all game, and to find a way to still make the 2 biggest plays of the game for your offense, he's not going to be Offensive Player of the Year for probably Bijan Robinson gets that, I'm assuming. Maybe Puka Nacua or Jason gets it. Christian McCaffrey, just, man. That reception from Juwan Jennings and the one from Purdy as well. Those two touchdown passes. And he's hurting. He has a stiff back. Saw him on the sideline. He was limping a little bit. CMC's probably banged up a lot. He had the most touches in football, I think, since 2015? DeMarco Murray? Maybe 2014 DeMarco? Yeah, a long time since a running back had 400 plus touches in football. And he's done that, and he still looks like the same dynamic player, getting open downfield, beating that Philadelphia secondary, which we talked about this too. You can beat Blankenship in the flat, and it wasn't in the flat, but he's late on rotations and he'll bite on coverage. And what do? He bit so hard on McCaffrey and Juwan Jennings. He saw Juwan with the ball and said, "I'm going in," and CMC's wide open downfield. And funny enough, Juwan said, after getting hammered by Jalen Carter, which got called for a penalty, thank God, albeit it didn't matter. Jennings said, "I don't even remember watching the football." He just threw it up and said, "God, take the wheel." And obviously, everything worked out for San Francisco, but just a great game. A fun game, too, a nail-biting game. And what do you even say? And I've talked for 55 minutes or so. What do you even say? Other than, what did I just watch? And we've seen San Francisco go on the road. They beat the Dallas Cowboys in 21. They beat the Packers in 21, which that game probably felt a little more insurmountable because the offense had Jimmy Garoppolo playing quarterback, and it took a special teams blocked punt to score a touchdown to win that game. But this game just the season is like that team had Kittle and Fred and Bosa and all those guys healthy. And this team is running out there, Keon White and Samuel Kawanu and Bryce Huff and a bunch of B and C and D list players and somehow finding a way. You know, I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of how to kind of surmise and kind of sum things up in a sentence or so. And I think the best way to say it is, you know, well, actually, Laurie Matthews here says it pretty well. They left it all on the table, and that's all you can ask for. I think it's true. I think that's one thing we have come to know and love, despite all the ups and downs of a Kyle Shanahan-led team, is that come playoff time, come the biggest moments, they may win, might lose, but you are going to get the best of the San Francisco 49ers. And funny enough, during the Cover 3 podcast, exclusively on YouTube, myself and Aaron and Dreary Sports were discussing, why San Francisco can win. And my response was like, because you have to say F it. What do you have to lose? The game? So do both teams. What do you have to lose? The season? Have you seen this year? It's just, yeah. Kyle and the culture he's built, this thumbs up, man. Like 2 thumbs up, salute. Wherever you want to eat, in Bay Area, San Francisco, East Bay, West Bay, North Bay Peninsula, for free forever. Like lifetime contract. This is the best win of Shanahan's probably Niners tenure. Not the most meaningful one. Obviously, they've won bigger games than this, but just to overcome what they've overcome, it's just awesome to see. Awesome. Jesse says, Kyle, coach of the year, no questions asked. I agree, Jesse. Bar none. He is the guy. No one has overcome as much as him and found as much success as him this year, which is just shocking to say, but it's the truth. It is the truth. Tommy Huxley says, why? We have to play on Saturday. BS. Speaking of BS, which San Francisco playing on Saturday probably makes some sense. Philadelphia, or Seattle, they want to get them probably out the gate first. They haven't played in a week, so get them out there. And yeah, so that makes sense. But speaking of BS, there was some BSery in this game. Since when can refs throw a flag, announce it to the fans, and then pick it up, and then take it back? When does that happen? When does that happen? That doesn't make sense to me. If you call a flag and you announce it, like you've had time to discuss. As soon as you throw it, get together. That's your discussion time. Then announce it. Don't throw it, announce it, and then go, wait a minute, never mind. What is that about? What is that about? That doesn't make any sense to me. And then Marquis Siegel, I think it was Siegel, gets called after having the game of his life, gets called for, and it didn't matter, now that San Francisco won, but again, BSery, right? Gets called for a crappy roughing call. When Hurts late slides, the announcer, Tom Brady, was like, that's a pretty bad call. The referee, broadcaster Dean Blandino, was like, yeah, it's a bad call too. I don't love that. The NFL needs to start penalizing late slides. Like, the college football made it a point to ban fake slides when Kenny Pickett did it at Pittsburgh. They need to penalize late slides. Because if they don't, you're going to see a team lose a game, which San Francisco could have lost this game because of that. And it didn't, obviously, but it's like you have to penalize late slides. You can't have quarterbacks that are running with the ball in their hands as a ball carrier, 8 yards downfield, showing no signs of giving themselves up, and then saying, oh crap, I'm going to get hammered and slide basically on one knee, and then call a flag. That's That's crap. And you can't do it when the guy doesn't hit him in the head and doesn't lead with his helmet. Like San Francisco won. We'll put it behind us, but the NFL has some things to clean up. I get you want to protect guys. I'm all for that. But the fact is, can't have late slides getting defensive players in trouble. It's like targeting in college. It doesn't make sense. Like, you don't warn guys, you just, boom, targeting, you're out. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, that was an accident. Now, some guys are not, perfect. Some guys are Vontaze perfect and do things on purpose. But it's like, the NFL has some things to clean up in this game. But I think Bobo said here earlier, a lot of drop passes by Philadelphia. And I would agree. A.J. Brown dropped probably 2 passes. Saquon Barkley dropped probably 2 passes. But also Jalen Hurts was wildly inaccurate. And the one thing you can say about Brock Purdy in this game, and goes back to comparing those two quarterbacks, is like, Brock wasn't inaccurate. His interceptions were at least 2 receivers. Just, there was a defender in front of the throw. Whereas Hurts was like, he was low targeting throws. He was high targeting throws. He was wide on some throws. And it kind of goes into where the NFL is at. And probably one of the big takeaways I had in this game was like, Philadelphia's offense feels uncomfortable. They don't feel like they're living in their own skin, right? Like, you watch the Niners offense, for all the guys they have out, you felt like that's San Francisco's offense, right? This is who they are. Brock feels comfortable. The team has, backups on backups on backups playing, but this feels like San Francisco's offense, right? And Philadelphia, all their guys healthy, just feel like they never got into rhythm. And Tom Brady was asking, like, go to some tempo. And they didn't. It was a lackadaisical, kind of slow, methodical Philadelphia offense. I get they were wanting to waste some time, and that's kind of how they play games. It's how they play games all year of like, let's waste time, and let's kind of bleed the clock out, and let's play keep away, let our defense lead. But it's like, when you have an offense like San Francisco, which is what makes them so dangerous, is for as bad as your defense is, if you have an offense like San Francisco with a quarterback and a head coach intertwined, having the same mind, that have the same idea, and are kind of running all systems go, that can outduel a slow-paced, kind of snails-raced offense and a defense that is playing good football, but, has holes in it. Now we'll see if that can continue on Saturday or Sunday against Seattle. But for this game, I walk away saying a good, and really not even a good offense, but what do we call San Francisco? Is it a good offense without Kittle and Pearsall and without Ayuk? And McCaffrey and Juszczyk was also great in this game too. Give him credit for a big 27-yard catch. Came alive late. Want to see more Jake Tunges against Seattle. Going to have to, obviously. Don't want to see screen passes going to Luke Farrell ever again. That was weird and ugly. But, it is San Francisco's offense good? I don't know. I mean, obviously they scored 23 points today. But you know what? They are good. I think if you have the quarterback and the head coach, like I said, intertwined, it makes for a good offense. But a good offense can beat a good defense. In this day and age in the NFL, a good offense can outduel a good defense. The way the rules are, the way the kickoff rules are, the way things are called now, the way Shanahan calls plays, trick plays, getting guys in motion, freeing up guys, and really I think, and this doesn't really have to do with what I'm talking about right now, but the Niners felt like in the first half, once Kittle got hurt, they were kind of playing not to lose. Like, how can we salvage this, right? Kick a field goal. We're in the red zone, kick a field goal. Let's not be aggressive, right? There's a big play call early in the game. If I can find it really fast. It's 4th and 2. You're trailing by 6 points, 13-7. And San Francisco says, you know what? We're going for a field goal. there was a sense of like, we're playing not to lose and try to keep it close and strike when the iron's hot. Which it was early at that point in time. So, you can go either way with it, but I do want to give the defense credit on top of playing good football, holding the Eagles offense down and to 19 points and kind of suffocating that passing offense Philadelphia has and making Hurts look like who he actually is, a pumpkin, at least this year in that offense. But I think the defense gave Kyle a spark. I think the way the defense played today, because why wouldn't you think, oh, Kittle's out, the defense is playing good enough, but, bend don't break, how long can it happen? Philadelphia's healthy, da-di-da-di-da. Like, they're probably going to blink. San Francisco's defense didn't really blink at all. 19 points, but you're holding a healthy offense in Philadelphia to under 20 in the playoffs while allowing 140 rushing yards. And you forced, 4 punts in this game, forced a handful of 3 and outs. You didn't get any true takeaways, but you got off the field on 4th down a couple of times. Samuel Kawanu, a big 3rd down stop. Then Upton Stout, who had a big 4th down stop in this one too, early in the game to kind of stymie any momentum Philadelphia had. But I think Robert Saleh's defense gave Shanahan life of like, it's football, but I'm kind of down in the dumps, but we have a chance. And I think when Shanahan felt like, oh, we have a chance, we can win this thing. I think I think Kyle sometimes doesn't lose faith in his own team, but I think sometimes Kyle's an emotional person, right? He's someone that can kind of get lost in his sauce and be like, oh, he can get lost in the flow of a game sometime, right? It's often seen in outsmarting, trying to outsmart opposing teams, but Kyle can kind of get lost in the flow of a game sometime. And the defense, I think, being as strong as they were, playing as tough as they were, Kendricks, Wallow, that secondary, Green, Stout, Siegel, my goodness. The way that they played, I think, gave Shanahan life and made him buy into we got this. We got this, or at least we have a chance. And like I said plenty of times today, and I'm sure I'll say it a billion times more in the next 5 days or so, that's all you asked for is a chance. That was my message, albeit it didn't reach many eyes and ears. But you've seen every game in the playoffs end in those 2-minute warnings, right? You've seen, playoff games so far. The Patriots game's on, so we'll see how that goes. But we've seen every game so far. Teams 2 minutes left, 1-score game. The Rams came back and won their game. The Bears came back and won their game. Green Bay couldn't come back at all. The Bills and the Jaguars game. There's been so many times already this playoffs where it's even bad teams. Carolina wasn't a great team all year. Bad offense. They were winning that game for most of it, or at least late in that one, right? And I think, sometimes as fans, we can get caught up in what we don't have instead of what we do have. We get caught up in that glass half empty mindset, which makes sense. You see the plethora of injuries and you think, well, it's gonna be a nightmare. But I think it's important to kind of remind ourselves of we have just as much of a chance as anybody else does because we're in this game. You made it this far. Records are 0-0, scores are 0-0, and it's they are trying, they have a 50% chance, and so does San Francisco. And San Francisco in this game they outdueled Philadelphia. And I think that, now you play Seattle next week, which will be tough, uphill climb. There's only so much to say about this game because there's so much to get into. Again, Siegel, Kendricks, Wallow, Green, Lenore, even the front four play good at times, not against the run, but just tackling. Again, I've said it, just tackle, for the love of God, tackle. And things can change, and voila, things changed. But, you play Seattle next weekend. It's equally, if not more challenging than this game was. And you have more guys hurt. Funny enough, I think having Tungus and if Pearsall can come back, and I think he will play, to answer Larry Matthews' question here, I think Pearsall will play. I think having the extra week, hopefully he can get back to practice. He was questionable coming into today. The odds were not in his favor to play, but they won. And I think having, now 7 days to kind of get himself ready, I think he'll be ready to go for Seattle, which he didn't play 2 weeks ago. So watch out. That's all I'll say. I'd rather not have to go to Seattle, obviously. But we've been there plenty of times. We won there plenty of times. And, sometimes when when the cards are stacked against you, you got to take your best shot. And I don't know what San Francisco's best shot is against Seattle. Philadelphia was much easier to pick apart. Philadelphia has many more weaknesses than the Seahawks do, but, like that game 2 weeks ago now against the Seahawks at home, San Francisco didn't have their left tackle and their acting number one wide receiver at Pearsall. So I think having those two guys healthy will be a very big get. And losing Kittle sucks, but it's not as if Tungus can't be a factor. It's not as if Kyle Juszczyk can't be a factor. I think Tungus, not to say is equally a receiver as George Kittle, and he isn't the blocker, obviously, but I kind of think Tungus is kind of dirty. It's kind of nasty. Like, he can make some plays, and I think he'll surprise a lot of people. Obviously, he has made Niner fans pleased with his play this year, but we all want to see Tungus, so why not? And I don't think this is going to sound bad, because I think Tungus is not the athlete Kittle is, on screens in the flat, but dare I say Tungus is more of a wide receiver than Kittle is, which I think right now benefits this offense. Not as much, but I think can have an impact where, Luke Farrell couldn't do, or, Tyler Kroft couldn't do. Larry Matthews says here, I think it's advantageous that we just played Seattle last week. They know how they match up and have a chance to make some adjustments. I would agree. I also just think, again, you didn't have your two most important offensive players playing a team like Seattle in Pearsall and Trent. So that game's going to be close. And, funny enough, and put it this way, the last 2 weeks, for as bad as San Francisco's defense has been, right? Been bad a lot of the times this year. They only allowed 32 points the last 2 weeks. 13 against Seattle. 19 today. That's 16 points a game in the two biggest games of the season. Now, the offense couldn't score some points against Seattle 2 weeks ago now, I guess, or at least in 2 weeks, the next time they play each other. If your defense is allowing 16 points a game the last 2 weeks, and I think today played, like the way the defense played today made me believe maybe it isn't 13 points, maybe it's 20. Maybe it's 23 points. Can you score 24 points against a defense having your left tackle and Pearsall back? I think so. Maybe not. Maybe I'm dumb. But I believe. I think also getting Juszczyk involved will help. But that's next week. This is today. And all that matters is San Francisco got the victory. The 49ers, banged up all the hell, walked into the link, the second hardest place to play in the NFC, where there was no Niner fans. None. You didn't travel well at all. There was like five of them there. Those Eagles fans blacked out the stadium and said, we're the only fans that are going to be here. Meanwhile, Niners walked in there, into the void, into enemy territory, and got the win. Bobo says, you're not dumb, Sterling. You just say some stupid stuff sometimes. That's true. That's very true. My wife actually has a recording of me when San Francisco got the block. They got the PBU. Eric Kendrick got the PBU on the fourth down play. today where San Francisco sealed the win. She has an audio recording of me, which I won't share because there were some things said that probably shouldn't be said. But I'll just say I'm shocked I didn't lose my voice. That's how hyped I was. You can go on my Twitter and see the all caps 30 tweets I put back to back to back, which, funny enough, if you want to read that, you might as well follow us on social media at 49ers.access is the Instagram, 49ers_access is the Twitter. And if you want to go see San Francisco play, Lumen Field in Seattle, enemy territory, can you take over that stadium? It's only a couple hours flight up north. Can you get your rump and take over Seattle? Going to be tough, but we'll certainly try. Can you get some red in Seattle? You can use our promo code 49ERSAccess, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. I can't wait. Sometimes when the odds are stacked against you, and sometimes when the Niners have to go on the road and play in the toughest places and play the best teams, it almost makes you want it more, Like, it makes it tougher, but it almost makes you want it more because when you do it, it makes the victory feel so much better. Like, you go back to those San Francisco Giants teams that won in 2010, 2012, and 2014. Like, winning that Game 7 in 2014 in Kansas City, how good that feel? Pretty good, right? Winning in 2012 when you had to overcome the Reds and overcome the Cardinals in their place. Then you won and clinched the pennant at AT&T and Oracle. And then in 2012, winning on the road and sweeping the Tigers. How good did that feel? With Prince Fielder and Miguel Cabrera and that offense, like how good that feel? And Verlander and Scherzer, how good that feel, right? 2010, overcoming the odds, the misfit Giants, beating the Tigers with Vladdy and Josh Hamilton, the MVP, how'd that feel, right? San Francisco, the Niners. You've been on the road plenty of times. How good did it feel beating the Packers in 2021? And the Cowboys on the road. How good did it feel to clinch divisions on the road in 2019 in Seattle and 2022 in Seattle, right? Winning in Seattle almost feels better than winning at home sometimes because, the middle fingers you can put up get a little bigger. Your chest pumps out a little more. And I just think that, I'll leave you with this. Niners get the win 23-19 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Send the defending Super Bowl champs home in packing. And they get to play the Seattle Seahawks next weekend, whether it's Saturday or Sunday. And maybe they'll play the Bears or the Rams in 2 weeks if they can get there. But Seattle Seahawks next weekend. I think I send a shot across the bow that every Niner fan can agree with. When I say 3 words: like, share, subscribe. No, I'm kidding. But like, share, subscribe. And to leave you with this, with those 3 words: Seattle Seahawks, the 12s, bring it on. And until next time, Niners win, wild card round victory against the Philadelphia Eagles, and stay faithful.